you and Coach Jordan go back quite a long, long way.
I said, 25 years ago, I attended Mayflower Playgroup.
Jordan went to nursery at the nursery school where you work at, Mayflower and Haywards Heath.
Their mum's in, their dads come in, their grannies come in to play. You know, it's very important to them.
Do you notice a change in behaviour? So like if it's
Definitely.
a bad day of weather and they tend to stay inside a bit more.
We're often trying to break down the barriers or try to find out why they don't want to go outside, which for some children is really difficult for them.
What's the most popular thing outside? Is it the bikes, sandpit, tough trays?
Sand is very popular. It's very therapeutic. It really is, because you can really
I think even as an adult, you just have been on holiday, that feeling of just the sand between your toes. And
exactly.
It almost
It's all
calms
that
you.
sensory stuff.
I'm guessing it's very important that the parents at home are kind of reinforcing what you're doing. And like you say, if we're going outside, we need to put our shoes on.
It's hard work as a parent. So
of course.
you want to encourage the parents and sort of praise the children.
We're back with a new guest. We've got Caroline on today. Right, so welcome back to Talking Techers. We're on episode number 8 now. We've been off for a couple of months. We're back with a new guest. We've got Caroline on today. And Caroline, this is the first time you and me have actually met.
Yeah.
But you and Coach Jordan go back quite a long, long way.
25 years now. Yeah.
Jordan went to nursery at the nursery school where you work at, Mayflower and Haywards Heath.
I said, 25 years ago, I attended Mayflower Playgroup. And Caroline was what would you call yourself, TA teacher then? Back then?
I was one of the staff.
Just one of the staff then?
Yeah, one of the
and
team.
Now, 25 years later, heads up Mayflower and has done for a while now. And Tiny Techers have been running classes there for, again, the last 8-9 years since we started way back in 2016, was it?
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
At the very beginning.
We're still there now. I ran the sessions for quite a while when we started off. And Coach Josh went in for a couple of years, and I've just recently gone back and started running the session as well. So yeah, like I say, full circle. Started at Mayflower when I was 2-3 and now we're back. Crazy world.
Crazy world.
But so this is Caroline. But Caroline, where did you start? Where were you born? Are you from Haywards Heath, or if not, what brought you to Haywards Heath and Mayflower?
I was born in Berkshire. I've lived Berkshire, Oxfordshire, Wiltshire, Surrey. Met my husband 40 odd years ago, and we lived in Surrey for a while. And then in 1994, we moved to Haywards Heath. So I've been here about 31 years, and my children grew up here. I have 3 children and 8 grandchildren, and 2 of them live locally and 1 lives in Devon.
And then they've all, some of them have been through Mayfair as well.
Yep. My 2 boys went through Mayflower, and now my daughter and my youngest son's children went through Mayflower as well. So that's been a real privilege, actually, to have grandchildren.
Yeah, it's amazing. A real family affair. We love it. Similar to us, really. The whole family ethos of Tiny Techers and keeping everything local. It's amazing.
Yeah. So I did nursing. I did nursery nursing first, and then I did nursing. And then I used both of those for a while. And then I took over as manager at Mayflower in 2006, which basically just used my nursery nursing skills. Okay. But sometimes, obviously, the nursing comes in useful as well.
Yeah, I bet.
I
bet it's a daily occurrence.
But we've always been, or was trying to get new guests. I think we can have on, and your name's always come up because you're quite knowledgeable in the industry that we work in.
I try.
Toddlers and children and stuff. So we've got quite a lot of questions.
I think it's really important, this podcast especially, to get some information out there to parents about kind of those 0 to 5 kind of stages and those early development stages and things to look out for, why they should be sending their children to nursery, what they should be maybe looking out for in a good nursery, and obviously tying it into Tiny Techers, why sport and kind of social engagement is so important for a child kind of under 5. So we'll delve into that as we go through, and I'm sure that all the parents listening to this will get some great insights. And if they do have any questions, what we can do is pop our contact details below, and if we get a few questions in, we can potentially put them to you and get that back out to the masses, I think.
Yeah.
So it should be good.
So I think for you, what was you always interested in working with children? Is that something that you wanted to do?
I did. I had much younger cousins and always liked to play when they come round, and just had a fascination in how children change as well, and how they learn new skills. And that hasn't really left me. I do still like seeing new things learned, which is good. And then just for a number of years, I had a real interest in nursing as well. And actually the two go together really, it's people skills, practical skills, and putting the two together, being nursing or in preschool work, both of them use what I have as a skill rather than being an accountant or anything like that.
That's amazing. Like, so I think they both go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like you say, you need to have plenty of tools when working in that sort of environment, any school environment, but especially with kind of under fives for sure.
Yeah.
What would you say potentially is the biggest thing? Let's say you've been there, or been in Haywards Heath 31 years working with children near enough most of your life. What's changed in the last kind of 25 years between preschool now and preschool again when I attended?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. A lot of the activities in our day-to-day things were more adult-led. So we'd, have an activity planned out and say, well, I've got a list of children here and everyone ought to have a go at it. There would be much more structure to the routine. We do have routines still, but much more structure, like you'd have a certain amount of time that you went outside and that was the outdoor time.
Okay.
Those kind of things. And it was a much shorter day as well. Most preschools were a couple of hours, 2.5. It was big news when it went up to 3 hours, Obviously there were day nurseries, but for preschools, that's the kind of length of day they were. And there was a small amount of funding for 3-year-olds, but obviously that's changed a lot as well. There's kind of 5 types of funding now.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day, weren't we?
Yeah.
That you've seen, especially over the last couple of years, you got a lot busier.
Yes.
And all your days seem to be completely full, and a lot of people seem to be kind of tapping into the funding, which is good.
Yes, yeah. So there's those sorts of changes. And I think one of the really big ones is that there's been so much more research on the brain, which we were talking about just before we started filming, that actually with all that knowledge, that's been fed back into how you actually educate children and what's best for them. Not only, do we know scientifically what something is, but someone's put that all that research back into making it important for day-to-day life for practitioners like myself
of course.
Or for parents. So, there's lots of information out there.
So changes that have actually been implemented, which is good to see.
Yeah.
Wow, wicked stuff. And is there anything that you particularly do now that you wouldn't have ever dreamed of doing back then? Or vice versa? Is there something that you used to do then and the changes and the practices have completely changed, and what, like you say, leading on the science that have completely changed?
Yeah, definitely lots more interaction with parents, really value parents' input, and really going for the individual child.
Okay.
Not sort of like, well, that's what a 3-year-old does.
Everyone putting them under the same blanket.
Not at all.
Yeah.
We really try to find out from the parents before they start exactly how, just about their family life and about how their interests, and just so we can settle them well and they can get the best start and then continue to help them. But by continuing to chat to the parents and continuing to find out their interests at home, or something that's sad that's happened in their life as well that might affect them. Yeah. But just that communication is absolutely essential with the family.
And at home visits, you still do home visits?
We don't do home visits. I mean, there's different ways of getting into family life. And actually, we find by inviting the parents in regularly, and then that would continue once they start, that we call them stay and play sessions.
I've had that when some parents will come into and watch our sessions that we come in around as well. So and of course, once they've settled a bit, you've met that child and you've seen how they react there. Mm-hmm. And sometimes children are exactly the same in both places. Yeah. Sometimes they're completely different people in both places, and the parents are like, whoa, haven't seen that before. Yeah. Or like, I've been really worried about. And it's really, we really aim for stay and play and working with parents about once a term, so that's Do you find that tricky?
Big
Do you
thing.
Find most parents are able, obviously with work-life balance these days, both parents still potentially working. Is there any struggles with trying to get the parents in? Do you flexible on times?
I think the important thing is to try and make it a fun thing, rather than a kind of sort of, this is a bad meeting, which, people can take it like that. And if they've just got an hour off in the morning or something, an hour's enough, to have a little chat and have a little play with their child on the floor and things, that can work wonders. And the child really, that you can see they're really puffed up, their chest swells. Their mum's in, their dad's come in, their grannies come into play. It's very important to them. So those sorts of things. But I think there's lots of different things from routines. Everything's free flow now. Okay. We have the outdoor open as much as we can. We don't just say, this is the half hour you're going outside.
Yeah, of course.
We have more of a rolling snack. So you don't have to sort of say, this is snack time. You've got to sit down now to eat your, cracker and milk or whatever.
Yeah.
You can choose any time because someone's there providing it for about an hour or more. So you can be in the first group or the second group or whatever.
I remember one of the boys on Monday said, we just finished, he was like, yes, I can go get my snack now.
Yes. Yeah. It is an important,
yeah.
It's an important part of a child's day, food, and it's
sociable.
sociable.
My day as well,
yeah.
to be fair.
It's like that routine, like he's understood now. He's like, after I finish the second session on snack time,
he's allowed
he
to.
remembers that.
But also, I've been in before as well. Obviously, you've got a certain amount of seats at the table on there, so you also are teaching children if the table's busy, that they then can't just barge in or jump in or have a snack and walk off with it. They must sit at the table and engage with the adult before they're allowed to have their snack.
Yeah.
Use their manners and get their plate and put their plates and cups back.
Yeah. It's quite a process, but you're learning so much just from sitting there and doing snack. They're just having a cracker in their heads, or having a drink of milk. But actually, they've got to find their name, register themselves, wash their hands, sit at the table or wait their turn.
Yeah.
And then they have to wait for the drink and pour the drink from a jug themselves. We're talking 2-year-olds here.
Yeah.
Pouring from a jug. And it's just the whole experience. And then random chat, just really relaxed chat. When we talk around a table, people do relax and they do want to chat. And that's important to the children from 2 and 3.
And going back to your point about the room and the open, using the garden a lot more. Obviously, since I was there, 25 years ago, your space has obviously evolved massively.
Yes.
You got a lovely, lovely building. Not that you didn't before, but it was obviously much smaller. You definitely didn't have the outside garden that you've got now.
Yeah.
I used to remember we had... I used to ride bikes in
outside.
remember ride bikes in the car park. The slope was about an 80-degree slope.
Yes, it was.
And there was just a little bit of barrier fence that stopped us between us and the main road.
Yeah. It was like police fencing, for like crowd control. Someone got a bit cheap somewhere. And we tied it all up. And it really did make you feel quite nervous. It was just an absolute joy to be moving around the building and actually going out into a garden that's all safe now.
Secure,
we lived and nothing ever terrible happened, which means that the staff were very alert.
That's it.
But it's a lot safer environment and a lot more natural because we've got a patch of grass, which is often muddy.
Patch of grass, and some flower beds and space for, obviously permanent stuff like the sand pits and structures and sheds that you can put things away.
Yeah.
Whereas, like I say, it was literally in the car park. So it was a case of bringing a couple of bikes around whenever we had a chance.
Yeah.
Are you affected by the weather much? Like if it's bad weather, do the kids stay inside?
We're affected by it, meaning like it gets very muddy.
Yeah.
We do aim to go out most days. To be fair, I think it was yesterday and it was like absolutely nobody was interested in going out to start with. Then they did go out for a while and 2 staff took it in turns. But the children, if you're dressed in the right clothing and they're warm enough inside, they want to be out there. It's a completely different environment. It feels different on the skin. You're breathing in different things. The noise in your ears is different if you're in the outdoors. We often find that children who speak several languages learn to talk better outside because the sound of their own voice is different outside. So there's many benefits for outdoors other than just touching mud and sand.
Yeah.
So
do you notice a change in behaviour? So like if it's a bad day of weather and they tend to stay inside a bit more, you notice they're a bit more...
There's always that, where they get more jumpy and a bit more, heightened indoors. But actually, you often try to say, well, should we go outside and we'll have a run around outside and play what's time, Mr. Wolf? And you've got quite a few in your crowd to go out there, even in the rain.
Yeah.
Snow, ice.
Do you ever tend to find that you might have a child that almost blatantly refuses when that type of weather sets in? Ones that goes, I'm definitely not going to go, not an outdoorsy child.
Yeah.
What do you kind of do to counteract that? Because obviously we know the benefits of being outside. And as you just said there, do you try and encourage them to go outside or how do you kind of deal with that?
We would do. we're often talking about this actually, because we're often trying to break down the barriers or try to find out why they don't want to go outside, which for some children is really difficult for them to express why they don't want to go outside. Often just setting a challenge, like somebody yesterday morning, one of the practitioners really well thought out, just decided to make it a challenge. I really need some help. I need somebody very strong, and I need someone who can help me actually choose in the shed what to get out this morning. Okay. And they took that as a challenge, and on their coat went. They hadn't been out for quite a while. Okay. So, and it was not great weather. So it's just trying to understand where the child is and what they're trying to do, because we all know that outdoors is really good for everybody. So we are often trying to work out, and sometimes it can just be the feel of the plastic trousers. We want them to have waterproof trousers and Wellington boots, and it can be that either they just really don't want Wellington boots on that day, or they just don't like those plastic trousers. So we say, well, we'll talk to mum, but you're going to get wet legs, but we'll change your trousers afterwards, just so they don't actually have to stop going outside. We will work with that. Of course, there's boundaries and rules and things that we aim for, but we don't want to stop children doing things just because they can't quite get there.
So you find it's like kind of almost
their own barriers,
giving that child the autonomy to make it's their decision. They're going out. It's not. Miss Caroline told me I've got to go out, so I'm fighting against it. Like you say, you're offering them. Oh, well, who's strong enough in this group? So, oh, that's me. So it's giving them kind of a sense of pride, and I really want to go out and making that choice to then take themselves out, I suppose.
Yes, and that is a challenge, because you only need a few 4-year-old boys together, or 2-year-olds who really don't know how to sort of manage their space and time, and you're saying it's my choice now that you go out. So sometimes we do have to say that, because it's all just getting a bit too much, and you have some more nervous or new children that are trying to settle, and everything's going a little bit wild inside, and you think, well, actually, this is my choice now. This is a better use of your time. I'm going to make this choice. And most children take that on board. So, but generally, yes, that's the idea of free flow, is to give them that choice of, where am I going to take myself today? How am I going to plan my learning?
Do you see certain children spend a lot more time outside compared to others? Is it kind of a split? If there is someone that potentially just wants to be outside all the time, do you try and encourage them inside to use the different areas and stations you've got, and vice versa? If there's a child that just wants to be inside, do you find that there's a better environment for them to work in or learn in, or is it kind of on as equal?
What we try to do is move quite a lot of the resources. So if they are much happier playing outside, there's kind of mirrored resources outside and inside, like there's dolls outside, dolls inside, cars inside, cars outside.
Gotcha.
There's just not ride-on bikes indoors.
Of course,
There's just not balls indoors. If you see what I mean. So there's a few things that is, we do sometimes have snack outside in the summer, but we don't take snack out in the winter at the moment. We may decide to do that in the future. But we would mirror it, so that if they do prefer to be outside, there would be quite a lot of stuff the same that they can feel comfortable doing.
What's the most popular thing outside? Is it the bikes, sandpit, tough trays?
Bikes, scooters, speed. They do quite like speed. Sand is very popular. It's very therapeutic. It really is, because you can really
I think even as an adult, you just have been on holiday, that feeling of just the sand between your toes. And
yes, exactly.
It almost
calms all that sensory stuff.
Yes. Bug garden, we try to find bugs. There's not a huge amount, but there's enough.
Not going to bring any bugs in. I'm sure we can find some.
Well, the shed has a lot of big juicy spiders as well, which are worth catching and looking at. We've got lots of bug pots. They spend a long time looking at them when we do manage to catch something. And I think it's not just, I found that on my own. It's like, look what I've got. So they're really, it's that whole teamwork thing, let's find it together. Let's get the magnifying glasses. And so it's that sort of just working together to find those things as well is really important. So I don't know, it goes through phases. Different cohorts of children prefer some things to others. It might be a sandpit time for ages. And we think, wow, we haven't done water play much, or we haven't been on bikes for a week, because that's just not been an interest. So,
I guess obviously you're at such a crucial age when they come to you, and then they lead into going to school.
Yes.
So obviously talking about the development of a child, do you look for certain milestones where you think at this age they should be doing that, they should be in this position
Yes.
as they go into school?
Oh, this is a massive question.
If it, maybe look from start off potentially like from a physical point of view, obviously based on
Related to what we do and stuff.
Yes.
Well, what are we kind of looking at? Kind of obviously not every single thing, but our age group.
No.
We did a while, but
We
the kind
would
of
be.
certain things,
No.
or is there major kind of worries potentially? You say if a certain child's not by 3 years old, obviously if they can't walk by 3 years old,
Yes.
there's obviously something wrong and an intervention needs to happen.
Absolutely.
Or is there anything obviously a little bit?
Yeah, I think just reeling back a little bit. One thing that we use to the government governs us with is basically a document called the Early Years Foundation Stage, and it is what it says on the tin. It's the early years and it's foundation. So it's foundation before school. So it's 0 to 5. And there's documents like Birth to 5 Matters and other things, which has got a lot about development in, and we use those resources. But there's 2 sets of areas that are really important. And one of them is the prime areas. And that's in this document. And the prime areas basically are communication and language, personal, social, and emotional development, and lastly, physical. And those 3 are absolutely fundamental before you move on to maths or literacy or understanding the world. Because if children haven't developed in those areas, they really need some support. It might be some simple support from their family. It may be from outside agencies, or it may be from many outside agencies to just help this one child. And obviously, we spend most of our time observing children and writing things down.
Okay.
Not always writing it in the moment,
Yeah.
because we wouldn't be busy playing with them and interacting with them, but actually writing just even one word or a short note or, a sticky note somewhere just so we can go back to it. And then we collect all that information and work out. But obviously, you have to go back to what are the norms to work out whether that child is within the norms. And when they're not in the normal development, then you start putting the picture together. You've built a picture, and then you start thinking, okay, I need to chat to the family. We need to work on this together. And then you would branch out to outside agencies. Yeah. And that can be any group of anybody from the health visitor to suggesting they go to the GP to, further referrals to child development team or, we get lots of strategies through West Sussex as well that we try first, and we work with the family and with the child. So I don't know whether that kind of answered.
Yeah, I think so. I think it also sort of
question,
like you said, those prime areas. They sort of lead into what we do. So like sort of that physical development and also the social side of being in a group, communicating with us, other adults, other children. And I guess sort of the benefits of the sessions that we run can help obviously with that development.
Because if you think about it, so I was thinking about, you asked in our communication about the benefits of techers. Tiny techers coming in. And obviously, it's great to have a different face. Yeah. That was one appeal to me in the beginning, wasn't it? Like a male figure that comes in and hear a different tone of voice, a different voice than a mainly female-dominated environment. Yeah. So that was really important to us. And listening skills. They have to sit and listen. Not for long. The main aim is to get the physical going, but they just have to line up.
Keeping that focus.
Keeping their focus.
That's why we use like the spots, and we know there's a reference point. Whenever we blow the whistle or stop between each games, we know that when we sit on the spot, we're quiet and we're listening. We turn our listening ears on and we're listening to others. Potentially one of the children that's speaking that's been asked a question or answering a question, and or just the adult leading very short, small instructions for them to follow. And then reinforcing the fact that if they're not listening, they don't understand the game.
Yes.
And those type of things.
Yeah. And I think the listening and communication, listening to your instructions, so that having to listen to different words, maybe words we don't use in a day, net, we don't use the word, football net very often. We might not use the word balloon every day. Do you see what I mean? But in your sessions, there'd be different words.
We bring in different words.
And then following instructions is really important. Mm-hmm. So we haven't even got to the physical of running or moving yet. And all those skills are in the personal and social, and they're in the
And a lot of times when they communicate at the start of most classes, we might ask, what have you been playing today? What have you been playing this morning? Obviously, we always start with their names as well. And that's crucial. I mean, I spoke to this with you at length before about how crucial it is to be able to say your name and communicate with an adult and peers. Yeah, but we'll ask questions. I asked, obviously just had half term and asked about half term, and some people said they went on holiday when they might not have done, but they
answered.
They answered. They're picking
so
up something
really
they have
good.
done, or the park. I've got a couple of people went to the skate park or watched a certain movie.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. So yeah, they're building those kind of interactions with adults and other people.
Yeah.
Building those memory links. Yeah. And being able to replay it back.
Even the questions about like the games, when you show them the equipment of, you know, who can tell me what this is? Can you remember what we do with this? And there'll always be a couple that can explain the game, or they want to come up and show everybody else how to do it.
Definitely, and that gives them the self-confidence that, you know, they feel really sort of confident in front of their peers, which is great because some of those ones would often be 3 or 4 rather than the 2-year-olds.
Yeah. And that's why we make it, like we say, we hammer it into our coaches, the kind of the colours, for example, like everyone knows the red cones are for jumping. So we reiterate that to the children every week. So we do also keep the same coaches. So again, they can build up those relationships.
Yes.
It's a friendly face. It's a familiar face. So once you've already established something, and you might know, so I might have known the child went on holiday because they told me the week before. Yes. I might then ask them a similar sort of question or something about that holiday if I can remember the following week. But yeah, same with the equipment. The kind of the way we do things and the colours and the different things we use are all very similar, even if a different coach goes in, for example. Yes. So it's important that consistency, recognition, and they can build up those thought processes.
But also you don't, on a positive, you do keep 1 or 2 activities from the week before and then you introduce one. You don't change all of them.
Yes,
so you're keeping some consistency but adding some variety. And all that is important. And then just the whole idea of speed, just some of the games are really good. We just can't quite get that speed going.
Yes.
We probably could because we could use the same hall, but we go back to the fact it's really nice to have somebody else doing it.
Of course.
But you've got the whole speed, you've got the whole jumping, you've got the whole twizzling around.
Yeah.
All of those things help with their brain development. And just their sense of purpose and space and being next to each other, not bumping into people, knowing where their arms and legs are.
That's it.
Where their arms and legs end, all
the
that sort of
racetrack,
thing.
and when they're running fast and being able to not plough through everybody and knock everyone else over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and recognising to stop, and in and out, and using cones and obstacles that we must over the obstacles or through or around. Yeah, we mustn't just kick them over and
So it's different language again. You see, just broadening their vocab. And it might be that quite a lot of our children do actually live in a flat. So they're not, if they're twirling around there all the time, can be quite difficult. They haven't got open space at home.
Yeah, especially,
so they're reliant on quite a lot of other things like parks and walking to nursery.
Especially with this weather as well. Like you say,
being stuck inside.
Getting stuck inside and trying to get them outside.
Really challenging.
Again, having a lovely hall like you've got in a big space that we can still run our sessions as we would any other normal session. And we've got, like you say, you've got the space for them to be able to run around, which is, I mean, we have between 10 and 15 most sessions for with yourselves.
So we've got about 30 odd children on a Monday and we do 2 groups. So it's a 15 and a 15.
Yeah.
And it's all it's different ages of 2, 3, 4 in both groups.
Yeah.
We don't just have like 3.5 to 4. So that works well as well.
Linking back to what we were just saying about kind of those development milestones, we see it a lot. So when we do the racetrack, we kind of set it up. We might run and get them all going and get the speed and get the kids really energized about what they're doing. And then we'll kind of move into the middle of the circle and kind of watch and get them to lead themselves and follow their peers and race with each other.
From the middle
But it also gives us a chance, and we've noticed it before. You can see someone's, obviously I'm not expecting them to be like Usain Bolt, but some of their running style is a bit off, or they're potentially maybe dragging a leg or not using their arms, or just one leg's more dominant than the other. They kind of almost skipping when they're supposed to be running type thing, and then stuff like that. Again, I've had conversations before with your staff, and you've picked things up. Normally they've picked up before. Yeah. Sometimes they may have missed it. Like I say, because you may not have had that space to be able to get up to full speed, essentially. So that's potentially like one of those milestones if a child is kind of struggling to run. And you can kind of see that when you've got a group of 3-year-olds that, or 3-4-year-olds similar ages, and you see a few that are running at a fairly good pace competently, they can hold themselves up, they can balance, they can run and then jump and land properly and safely. What would then, if there was someone that potentially was almost quite far behind at a similar age, what sort of thing would you look to do with the parents, like you were saying earlier about potentially bringing them in for a chat, potentially interventions, GP referrals?
Yeah,
Could be something to do with the growth and
the big thing is to build that relationship with the parents so that they trust you first, and then to gather information enough so that you're not just saying, well, I saw them look a bit wonky today. You know, it needs to be enough information and happen often enough for you to be concerned, and then watch it over a period of time, because it might just be a slightly slower level of development, or they may be just shooting up and they haven't quite got the muscle strength for how they're shooting up.
It actually happened this week, to be fair. There was one lad that was, I'm pretty sure it was his left leg that he was dragging, and I hadn't realised that he'd only come back recently after breaking his leg.
Yes. Oh, right. You'd missed that. Okay.
Yeah, so I'd missed that bit.
Yes.
But I noticed it straight away, and obviously, again, on having a quick chat with the members of staff, and obviously told me that, he'd obviously been in cast for quite a while.
Yes,
so it was still obviously his right leg, whichever one it was obviously quite built up. And obviously, from having the cast on, had been dragging his legs. After the cast was taken off now, I think it's only been a couple of weeks, not too long.
Yeah.
And he's still obviously getting better.
Each week we see a difference.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will get stronger and stronger. But that would be the same with, so like sometimes when 2-year-olds come, they may still be quite nervous, going back to the child development part and physical, even going just up our step as we just enter. And some may still sort of like, you know how very small children really struggle when they first, they may have a struggle just lifting their foot up into, and you think, okay, I'm going to notice that. And then I'll just know that and see how that develops. See their confidence of coming in, even in the morning, you can notice right in that first bit, whether and others just march straight in and they can still be 2. Do you see what I mean?
And I think that's also important to be able to notice that is like you said earlier, you're making sure the children are independent. They're coming out with their own. I see. I get sometimes arrive as the children are arriving as well, and you greet them at the door, you handshake them. They take their bag off their parents, their lunchbox, whatever it might be, and step in themselves and find their peg. Whereas you say, it could be quite easy and probably quicker for you guys if the parents just came in, shoved the bag in the box, put their coat on their peg, and the children can run off and start playing.
Definitely. And that would be the same as quite a lot of our work during the day. Of course, it would be an awful lot simpler if we just quickly put on all the trousers on the children, but we have to start by saying, first of all, let's find your bag. Of course, that takes quite a while to process. Find bag. Where's my bag? Which side is it on? Then I need to actually get my trousers out of the bag. Well, sometimes there may be a nappy on the top, or there may be some other clothes on the top. So they've got to tuff it out, find their plastic trousers. Then they've actually got to take their shoes off, because your plastic trousers won't go over the shoes, and you need Wellingtons outside. It's a lot to remember. It's a lot to process. And you're busy just trying to help a couple do this at once. And if you're not doing that, then you're not going to help in the end. So there'll still be 4 going to school and they won't have done any of those skills.
So that's important for parents at home. Again, I guess we're all, I haven't got kids personally, but looked after younger cousins, nephews, nieces. I'm guessing it's very important that the parents at home are kind of reinforcing what you're doing. And like you say, if we're going outside, we need to put our shoes on. And letting them attempt to put their shoes on at the door, or coats, jackets, and everyone knows the coat trick where they lay it down and put the arms in and flip it over their head. We've seen that. We see that every day.
It's really hard though, because we just got family living with us at the moment, and the speed and the sort of like getting everybody ready in the morning, it's just refreshed in my memory, thinking, gosh, it is really hard for families to sort of get your coat on, get your shoes on, all the rest of it. For someone to sit down, if you've got like a 6, 4 and 2-year-old to get all those shoes on, and everybody, and they've got to be in the right mindset to want to put the shoes on as well. It's hard work as a parent. So you want to encourage the parents and sort of praise the children when they do learn those skills. Like, that's absolutely amazing that you can do it. And so it's for us to be noticing, did he actually used to put his shoes on or not? Oh no, that's a new skill. Great. I need to praise that and say to the parents, it's so good we noticed it. That makes the parent feel better, but it makes the child feel wonderful. And hopefully they may have a lazy day, but hopefully they'll be putting their shoes on or taking them off.
Yeah, we kind of implement that similarly in what we do. We get the children to tidy up all the equipment. Again, sometimes it is nice that you haven't got to keep bending down and picking up 100 cones off the floor, but also they know that the equipment lives... At session, it lives over this side of the room by the bags. We have cones and it's stacked up in the right colours and they match, and the children then would have to or we ask the children, right, tidy up. We make it a fun game and they tidy up and they know and they help us and they can pick an amount of cones up, or we might be using a bucket and they can, where does that go? Yeah, that lives over here. And they organise it. And some of them take it very, very seriously, don't they? They
well, like you touched on there, the colours. Like I had a parent say to me the other day, I think he's about 18 months, so he's only just started. But when we do like the racetrack or colour squash or whatever it is, you have different colour cones out. They tidy them away. They have to put it back on the right colour, match it up. And she was like, at home, he knows his colours. And she was like, I'm adamant it's from coming here.
Yeah.
Because he didn't before. And just doing that, picking up all the red cones and finding the red stack and putting them on. And she was like, he's definitely learned that from coming to the sessions because he didn't know his colours before.
Brilliant.
At such a young age.
Yeah. We reinforced that as well. I say it'd be much quicker if we just quickly did it and tied away to move on to the next game. But giving the children, the parents, and the parents are really good as well. We see them as well.
Yeah.
And if they're putting on the wrong one, what colour's that? No, we know the colours. It's the blue one.
And learning to give it back. Like you see it a lot at the start. They get football and you're like,
That's
come and put it in the bag,
yeah.
and they have tears and they're like, I don't want to give it back, I want to hold on to it.
Yeah.
But then they learn that we're going to get another game out in a minute, some different equipment. So then gradually through the weeks, you see it doesn't bother them anymore. They're happy to put it away and sit down and wait for the next game. So you see, like you said, the progression and development.
And it's when they stop or they go backwards and there's no progression that you're really looking out and thinking, okay, I need to seriously look at this. And as a staff team, we often discuss that and then we're like, really like, oh, we don't need to worry about that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
That child has moved on and you know.
And do you think you're leaning on more kind of your experience there as opposed to, like I say, hitting criteria? Right, it says here in this document, if they can't do this, it's like you've been doing it for a long time now.
I think it's both. I think there is some stages of development that you have to stick with and some advice you stick with and strategies.
Yeah.
But I think just sometimes you look and you think, no, I think taking the whole picture, so that's family life, development, what's happening, you know, in the setting, anything like that. Let's just look at the whole thing. I think they're going to be okay. I think they'll manage. And anyway, if they're not, it's giving the right information to the right people. So if it's a small issue, then and something that they're just struggling with, then make sure that the school do know about that when we transition to school. Or if it's a bigger thing that needs a lot more time and professional help that we're not in a position to help with, or we can work alongside the other professionals, then we pass it on to somebody else and we make referrals.
Okay. That's amazing. And again, I suppose from a parent's point of view, the parents that might be watching this, we encourage them to speak to the staff. Like you say, it's not, when you call them in, it's not a bad meeting to tell them off because their kids been misbehaving in class. It's to help them with development. I mean, I've got a note here. 80% of a child's brain is developed by the age of 3. So those first few years are crucial. So the things that you're pointing out and telling them is going to help them as they lead until the whole life, until they're 50.
Yeah,
so
the statistics are pretty strong these days. And it really, all that development from 0 to 5 will be basically shaping the person you are when you're 50.
Yeah.
So it's just a real privilege to be part of that. You know, we've got them, we just take children from 2. That's what we're registered for 2, 3, 4. And leading them on to school, but not forgetting that most parents, you know, a few people have had childminders and things before, but most parents, we're the first people they trust to actually look after their child on a fairly regular basis without a parent. And some, you know, are like, oh, goodbye. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. But most people really struggle with that. I would say, you know, the parents struggle as much as the child settling because it's a massive thing, really massive to trust someone else.
I might have got into the way it works at Mayflower. I've gone in, signed in, I've seen the parent drop off the child and I've gone round to my van to get the equipment and bits and pieces out, and you hear the parents chatting in the car park, or you see them sometimes almost in tears in their first couple of days. Yeah. And they almost horrified at leaving, like you say, leaving the child with you.
Yeah.
So it is, like you said, it's a massive thing. And even when we do holiday camps, any session that we do where we're the sole caregiver looking after that, those children, is making sure, you know, these parents are trusting us to look after their children. That is massive. Like that's their child.
Yeah.
And trying to make everybody aware that's, such a big responsibility.
And that's why those first contacts, obviously, again, so important. Like I said, the way you greet them at the door, the way you speak to the parents, like you say, you do kind of not background checks, but you ask about their home life and where they grew up and how things are, and you get to know the parents as well as the children. So like you said, if they do, you build up that relationship and that trust, they will then be more willing to kind of come in and open up about potential problems or issues they kind of think they may have at home, they might be struggling with, or something they have noticed. It might be nothing at all, and you can reassure them with that. But on the flip side, it might be something you've noticed as well, and you can have that discussion from a professional environment, and like I say, point them in the right direction.
We tend to. So when someone even makes an inquiry, we would ask someone to come in. Not all settings do this. We ask someone to come in and meet us, and have just an hour or so, letting their child play or be part of the environment for a while, and just to chat to us and ask any questions. And some people can get a bit stuck on the money, some people can get a bit stuck on the timings. Most often people want to know how we will settle their child and how we'll look after their child, which is always really good. But that relationship starts then, going back to the whole parent partnership, but also the child development, because you sort of say, well, how have they done up to now? Was it a normal birth? Have you had any help from, early help? Have you had any help from your GP? Has your health visitor been in contact? You can pick up things, have you've been worried about their speech, anything like that, right from that first visit. And then you can say, well, that's okay. When we email a bit nearer the time of them starting, if they're not going to start immediately, you can catch up on that conversation, because I'd write a few notes about what the answers were. And it's just building that picture again.
Do you think that's a lot better now? We were talking about it at the start of the podcast, where you had less interaction with staff, with parents way back when I was at preschool, whereas now it's obviously a lot more encouraged. So I guess also there's a lot more access to help, a lot more services out there. And again, like you say, backed by science, there's a lot more kind of research into development at that stage. So it's probably,
it's another massive can of worms. I think there's a big...
So do you think there's a stigma? I mean, do you think parents still... Do you find a lot more parents are almost seeking help and wanting to know a little bit more about their child now? Again, going back to when I was there, was it more of a, right, that's preschool for you, I've got 2 hours to do the shopping?
I think the problem is as well, there's culture. So, and services have changed. So although the services are out there, a lot more is like online, a lot more is remote. Like even early help, which is supposed to help families, it's quite a struggle to get them to actually visit in the home to help. They'll say, oh, hi, can I just give you a phone call to help you? And these can be quite difficult family situations that need some help. So a lot of that work that was done years ago is actually kind of comes back to us. So anything from encouraging dental hygiene, encouraging speech and language. You don't see speech and language therapists very often now. The waiting list is unbelievably long, but they've got websites we can go to so we can put into practice quite a lot of the strategies way before they may even see a speech and language therapist. So there is more information, but actually, strangely, an awful lot more comes back onto us as practitioners. We need to be slightly jack of all trades, a little bit health visitor-ish, to know about a lot of toilet training, to know a lot about sleep, to know a lot about other things that a health visitor would have helped with, because health visitors are stretched and they can't be sitting in a community hall weighing babies in the same way anymore. Do you see what I mean? And there's not that chat around child development as there was. So, culture's changed. So there's different pressures on different parts. Does that kind of answer? Sorry.
No, definitely.
It's just each question kind of opens up a can of worms of which string do I pull on? Sorry.
No, that's all good. I suppose if we're on can of worms, we might as well open up the next one. What's your thoughts and experiences recently with the whole screens,
literally,
iPads?
I was about to say.
Was it? Yeah.
It's just such a big topic now with obviously technology.
It is. I did have a look at a couple of things, because obviously you're often thinking about your own screen time as well.
Most definitely.
I think sometimes
screens,
you can feel a bit of a hypocrite. You've got your phone in your pocket and you're on your lunch break. You're thinking, I'll just check my phone. And you're thinking, really, do I need to do that? But often you do. So they have their uses. So I was thinking of like positives and negatives, and kind of for us, but also because we're modelling. So if the children see us with phones a lot, we're the ones modelling it. Because they're very perceptive and they want to be like us. So the positives are that, it's relaxing. You can get good YouTube stuff to do with songs for children. I've sent YouTube videos of songs or stories being read. So that's positive things to send to parents. And I'd like them to watch them with their children. So that's a good use of a screen. You can have new vocabulary. You can have great information. If a child asks a question, you can say, well, should we look in a book or should we look on the internet? So there's even at 3, there's some really positive uses for a screen. It's just when it goes a little bit,
it's probably a good thing with
mad
languages as well, I suppose.
Yes.
And I know that
we have a lot of different, I think it's 9 or 10 different languages at the moment.
Amazing.
And there's only 46 children. So that's quite a lot of different languages. But the negatives is there's just a lot less physical play if children are allowed to hold on to things, and it can hinder vocabulary actually. So it can have a positive or a negative effect on vocabulary. You can have poor attention skills because you're busy watching something that's moving really, really fast. So you're not really looking at a bird flying by or people walking down the street or a car going slowly or fast because you're in a buggy
like
or something.
Vision. This is the only thing you see.
So there's a lot of things like that, and actually it doesn't take long at all to get onto really negative content, and some children's stuff is very fast moving, and that's not good for the brain either.
Okay.
I won't mention which one, but a lot of parents do know that one of the children's programs is really bad for fast moving. It's not great for the brain. There's been quite a lot of negative on that. And obviously the different lights and things on your phones and screens, that's not great for sleeping. And a lot of children struggle with sleep. So why would you put something in their hands or near them that's going to hamper their sleep patterns as well? So it just made me think about my own use as well as, I suppose, for children.
Having that as well, not having kind of downtime. If their downtime is the iPad or the screen, but it's technically not down. Like you said, it's fast moving things.
It's very stimulating, isn't it?
Stimulating. There's no time to just rest and just sit there and think about what I did today. Imagination from what's been going on.
Yeah. And I think there's children say, oh, I'm bored, but that's a word they've learned from their parents or from another adult somewhere.
Yeah.
Because actually thinking time is a really great time to just sort of rest and think of the things that have happened and to think, like you say, imagination, think of a story you've recently read, or just, you will often see if a child's just laying there or resting somewhere, they'll just burst into song because they have learnt a song recently and their mind just goes there. Do you see what I mean? And that's a really positive thing. I think just one big thing I often say to parents is just make sure you're watching the screen with them, because often it's put in someone's
front as a distraction.
It's really going back to the negative content, it can be really negative. So it's really good to be watching it as well and thinking, is this good for my child at any age?
Of course. And we spoke about it the other day, actually, at the session on Monday, about that contact, face-to-face contact.
Yes.
Children to read your lips, what you're saying, see the facial expressions, eye movements, which again, if a child's sitting there on the sofa, whatever it might be, with a screen in front of them and you're kind of shouting, not trying to talk to them, they're not even concentrating on you.
No.
That's very difficult for their development. I guess going to hinder their potential development and their social skills moving forward.
I do think, I know someone who works with youth, and she would say that their concentration, sort of like 14 to 16 years, is so short. Their concentration span is like they're flip the whole time, and it's like trying to capture their, their actual attention
so for
long enough.
Perfect shot.
She finds it really difficult. So that's quite an interesting thought for what are you producing in the future. I think just limiting time, being aware. Like I realised I was on Instagram a bit too much. I thought I've got to limit this to an hour a day. Now that sounds crazy. I'm not on it an hour a day, thankfully, but once or twice, if you're a bit poorly or you're out and about and you've got nothing much to do, you might scroll down a few reels and watch you've got to limit those children's times. This is, and it says a lot of advice says nothing for at least an hour or two before bed, not 5 minutes before bedtime for children, an hour or two, which means you've got plenty of time to be reading stories, having a bath, chatting about your day with your child, which is much more important.
I guess that's what's perfect about our sessions. There is obviously potentially parents taking photos and answering messages when the children are doing the sessions, but there's no child that comes into our session with a screen.
No.
For the 45, 50 minutes that they're with us, they're engaging. If it's a parent-led class, they're engaging with their parent, and it's great to see. We're on all year round, winter, sun, rain, whatever. We've got sessions running that they're doing some sort of sport, physical development, and it's also that, like I said, that engagement with their parents. There might be one or both parents that they may not see much during the week because of work and whatever balance it might be. If they're booking on potentially, like our weekend sessions are probably our most popular, we get a lot of parents, and it's the same parent, the dad or the mum, whichever one it might be, will come every Saturday, every Sunday, and it's almost their hour of phones away. Phones are left in the bag, and they're running around with them, playing, jumping. I've seen parents pretending to be dinosaurs, stomping around in the corner of the room and rolling around on the floor, which is great to see, which they can do at our session. They feel free to express themselves in our sessions, and also may not do that at home because of time, other pressures, whatever it might be. So, I mean, obviously recommend tiny tickets to everyone, but getting children involved in those clubs and extracurricular things, I think is also really important.
Absolutely. And I think just keeping active for everybody, it's a really good thing. For adults to keep active, it's a really good thing. For the children to be doing something with their parents, but actually just to keep on the move. The body wants to move. The body needs to, particularly at a young age, the children need to find out about their bodies, that it's still growing, it's still learning things. And so, your sessions as well coming into us, they're still, like, we've got a couple of children that literally their arms and legs are all like this. And you notice how they're getting a bit more coordinated. And of course, that's so important, because if they weren't moving and if they were sitting about or they were limited in that way, those arms and legs would still be doing that at 6 and 7. They just need to sort of find out about their bodies and build that core strength. Like at Mayflower, we took away all chairs around the dough table. It sounded a bit crazy. And you're thinking, well, actually, when you're rolling dough or when you're squeezing dough and things, you don't want to be doing it from this position as a sitting down thing. If you're standing up, you're using much more of your body. So we don't have, so that's just an idea. And we took chairs away from painting because you're moving the paintbrush up and down and up and down. So again, it's just using that whole body and feeling that whole body experience just for painting. You think it's just a hand thing, but it's not. It's the whole thing.
That's it. And I think parents also, when we try and tell parents, I don't think some of them realise that being able to like grip a tennis racket, for example, in one of our sessions is crucial for building up all the muscles and the fibres within their arms and forearms and their fingers.
Pencil.
To hold a pen and pencil.
Tiny shoelaces and stuff like that as they get older.
Exactly, yeah. And it all
transferable,
ties in. And like you said about the arms, then like we do a game like called a rubbish bin, where we put a simple game. There's a bucket in the middle of the hall. Like I did it a couple of weeks ago. And they've got to hit 2 cones, almost as I call them grabbers, and they've got to use both hands independently to pick up a ball that's obviously moving.
Yeah.
So coordinate themselves, like I say, use that core to bend down, pick up a ball within 2 with pincers or whatever it might be, and then transport it somewhere and drop it. So it's a simple game such as rubbish bin or rubbish clear up that we call it, develops kind of both sides of the body, like you say, which is important, and not just developing the stronger side or just using the same foot or the same. Again, we do with football, we do sticker foot, so we'll put a sticker on whichever foot it is, whichever part of the foot it is to kick with, which is obviously teaching them kind of a technique, but then we'll flip it over to the other foot as well, so they're building up both sides of the body. And because obviously our body works in diagonal patterns, so your right and your left kind of all joins up. So they need to be working kind of both sides equally, which potentially parents don't see. But that's how the games are designed. And the reason why we work with such younger age groups and have been for nearly 10 years now. The games are designed for their benefit at this age group. It's not just a case of right, here's a football, let's just kick it in the goal. There's a reason they do the things before they get to the goal. The goal's a reward and a challenge. And
Yes.
like you say, the praise, which is also really important. But the things they're doing before that, the jumping, the running, the use of multiple hands or climbing, whatever it might be, is important to get to that stage before they get handed over to school, 5, 6 years old, as they start to explore more of the world.
There's a lot about the physical that you're going across the midline as well, because we write from left to right.
Yeah.
And we read from left to right. And of course, if you've just got one strong side, or you're not using all the parts of your brain and all the parts of your body, you're not going to be able to be crossing what is not exactly, we haven't got a line down the middle of us, but we need to go from side to side. And so all that twirling and twisting and jumping and leaping and kicking and flinging ourselves off something, or just twirling around in like one of those cones, to get the balance and things. All of those help for reading and writing. And you don't always see that or think of it. And parents don't always understand why you're doing all of that physical to help.
Yeah, I think you mentioned again off air before we started that I think some parents also are under the assumption that school will fix all that and school will sort that out.
Yeah.
They play at nursery, play at preschool, play at techers, which they do.
Yes, they do.
But there's an important part, and again, the science and everything behind it, just to prepare them for that.
Yes.
The learning.
Yeah.
When they get to 5.
Yeah.
I guess that moves on to quite a good bit of what advice would you have for parents to do at home?
Well, kind of
key
things,
years
obviously.
of
their
development.
I mean, be with your children.
Yeah.
Which does actually mean turn your own screens off and try to save some of the chores for later in the day.
Yeah.
Or when they're napping or something. Obviously, other than people having struggles in life, but really aim to play next to your children, to be just a playmate. You don't actually have to be saying, we're going to do this. Whatever they're doing, comment on it. Just say, oh, look, you've got your car out. That's great. And just see what they do next with it. And just say, where are we going? Or what should we do? Or whatever. Just to join in that imagination, to join in that play and make daily chores fun. Just ask them to be part of it. And there may be the odd mug broken or, some mud gets in the wrong place or some things get, just they're not used in quite the right way. But actually all those skills, from putting knives and forks on the table to sorting the washing, all the classic sort of things, just when you go shopping, get them to find their favourite cereal or, some porridge or something,
And taking things off lists and things like that.
Yes, really important things, just a life skills and giving them, going back to the whole physical thing, giving them time to put on their own socks, take off their own socks, choose their own clothes in the morning, make those choices that, going back to autonomy, I don't want to, sometimes you can tell that children have dressed themselves. And that is really to, thumbs up. We just want them to have chosen their things in the morning and the parent, the parent's given them that chance to have a go at that sort of thing. And another massive thing, other than chatting to them as you do your daily tasks, taking them out and about to see things, just experience smells, sights, sounds. It's really easy to stay indoors. I think we've become a bit more of a society to stay in. A lot of the world is in our house with technology, but get out and about to feel the world outside and have those experiences. For a car to go whizzing past or for an ambulance to be going past, those sights and sounds are really important.
Or see a traffic light. If they want to see a traffic light, just walk around Haywards Heath for 5 minutes and just see about 100.
There's a lot of traffic lights in Haywards Heath. And also to read every day, read and sing. It's absolutely essential. And you can read walking along. We're going on a bear hunt. You don't actually have to stand still to do that story. And a lot of songs are active songs, because you want to use your body and because you want to learn things and keep repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating.
Yeah.
And then that's like early reading and early writing there in your hand, in your bag.
That's it. I think one, before we close off, I think we haven't given the listeners what they want, is what was Coach Jordan like at 2 and 3 years old at Mayflower?
Did he talk as much as he talks now?
No,
Was I as active? Was I?
Do you know what's a really positive thing is I remember you very well.
Okay. I don't know if that's a good thing.
But not remember you as in negative things. I'm not thinking, do you remember Jordan?
Yeah.
So that's good.
Don't worry. Yeah.
That's good. So I do remember you just being a smiley kid that got on with other people and was just doing stuff in the environment, like, just playing well. So you weren't one that sort of tried to, get people around the neck all the time or anything like that.
I used to remember the pink wafer biscuits. I used to remember them.
Yeah. Well, we don't have biscuits anymore. We have, we eat slices of apple as well.
I wouldn't survive anymore.
No. Pink wafers would still be popular. But no, and I remember and your brother was there.
Yeah.
And your two cousins, Reese and Adam. So Reese went through there as well. And Adam Bates, your older brother.
Older cousin. Yeah, Adam Bates.
So I do remember. In fact, I found pictures of them the other day. Adam was in a picture the other day. So
we'll upload them. We'll get them, Nathan. We'll get them on the screen.
So no, you were, and I remember your mum coming in as well in her uniform from when she worked for the Hertz car people. Like jobs people do. So I remember that well as well.
Yeah, and she's still there.
Yeah,
43 years later,
no
she's still
way.
there.
I was going to ask actually. I didn't know whether she still did that.
And it's amazing, because obviously they know and they still ask about you. And I was actually on the phone just before we got on the podcast and to my dad because we've had some equipment being dropped off at their house, and obviously I mentioned that you were coming as well. And you see him occasionally, obviously in the area.
We do because he does deliver stuff. So
and he pops in.
See John,
Amazing. Yeah, it's funny how your memories stick with you. Like I say, I can vividly see sitting there waiting for my pink wafers. I say wafers plural because I probably had at least 2 or 3.
Yes.
And like I said, those bikes. And I always remember the plays or the carols at Christmas. And
yes, so we have end of term services because it's a Christian play group, and it was started because the hall got a lot bigger. They had an extension and they wanted to do something for the local community. So it stayed very community based. It's a Christian play group, so we do Bible stories and Bible songs, and we do have the end of term services. So that would be, or we call them end of term celebrations now, at Christmas and Easter and in the summer, and someone does a little talk and the kids all sing, and the parents stay for quite a long time afterwards and have drink and biscuits or hot cross buns at Easter or whatever. And that again is building those relationships with families and wider families, because granny and granddad's come, and building that confidence to have those difficult conversations if we need to have them. So,
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, Nathan's given me the sign
to
wrap it up. I think cameras are about to explode.
No, amazing. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for coming on. And
pleasure.
Like we said at the start, if there's people have any questions or stuff, let us know.
Yes.
And
we'll pass it on.
I've got a couple of links which I'll give to you.
Yeah, we can put
amazing
stuff.
We'll put
in the
parents
description
can
on
have
the
a
video.
look at. I think most parents will have been told them before, but it's always worth having another look at those links because it just says about development and things.
Definitely.
So.
Amazing.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much for coming on.
Amazing. Thank you, Caroline.
Like and subscribe, as always.
We'll see you all soon. Episode 9.
Thank you very much.
See you there.
Thank you. Bye for now.